I still don't know why that night refuses to leave my mind. I have tried to forget it many times, but some memories do not go away. They wait quietly, and when the world gets cold and silent, they come back. This happened during one of the coldest winters of my life. At that time, I was a truck driver. My name is Ryan Carter, and I worked long night routes, delivering supplies between small towns. I drove alone most of the time. I was used to dark roads and empty highways. Night driving never scared me, at least, not before that night. It was raining when I started the trip. Cold rain, the kind that feels sharp when it hits your skin. I left a small warehouse just after 10 p.m. My delivery was simple: drive through a forest route and reach a mountain town before morning. The GPS showed a shortcut through a deep forest. I hesitated for a moment, but I chose the forest road. I wanted to finish early and sleep. The road was wet and shiny under my headlights. Rain hit the windshield again and again. The trees on both sides were tall and dark, standing like silent guards. The forest felt alive, but quiet at the same time. The radio played softly, a late-night talk show, familiar voices. It helped me relax. After about 30 minutes, the rain slowly began to change. Small white dots appeared in the light. Snow. At first, it mixed with the rain. Slush covered the road. Then the rain faded, and only snow remained. Big, slow snowflakes fell from the sky. I checked the clock. 12:32 a.m. That was when I noticed how quiet everything had become. The radio signal cracked and died. The forest swallowed the sound. I turned the radio off. I don't know why, but I wanted silence. The truck moved slowly now. Snow covered the road. Tire tracks disappeared behind me almost instantly. My headlights felt weak, like they were pushing against darkness instead of light. I took a deep breath and told myself to stay calm. Then I saw something ahead. At first, it looked like a snow pile. I slowed down. As I got closer, my heart dropped. It was a truck. An old truck, stopped sideways across the road. Its lights were off. Snow covered its hood and roof. No hazard lights, no warning signs. I stopped my truck a few feet away. I stayed inside for a moment, watching. Nothing moved. I opened the window slightly. "Hello?" I called out. My voice sounded small. No answer. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped out into the snow. The cold hit me hard. Snow crunched under my boots. I walked closer to the truck. The driver's door was open. That was wrong. I shined my light inside. The seat was empty. No blood, no damage. Just an empty truck, abandoned in the middle of a forest road during a snowstorm. I felt my chest tighten. Then I heard it. A sound behind me. Crunch. Slow footsteps. I turned around fast. Nothing. Just trees and falling snow. I laughed nervously and told myself I was tired. I walked back to my truck and climbed inside. As I started the engine, I saw something in my side mirror. A man, standing near the trees. He was tall, very thin. He wore dark clothes, but they looked old, like they belonged to another time. Snow fell on him, but it didn't stick. He wasn't moving. He was watching me. I froze. Then he raised one hand, not to wave, to point, at my truck. I slammed the door shut and locked it. My hands shook as I pressed the gas. The truck moved forward, slowly pushing past the abandoned truck. As I passed the man, he turned his head. His face was pale. His eyes were wide, and he was smiling. Not a happy smile, a wrong smile. Like he didn't understand how humans smile. I didn't look back. I drove faster. The forest road twisted and turned. Snow fell harder now. The wind picked up. My truck shook as if something heavy was pushing against it. Then my dashboard lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then they went dark for a second. When they came back on, my heart nearly stopped. There were headlights behind me. Very close. Too close. A truck was following me. Its headlights were bright, but I couldn't see the truck itself. Just the lights, floating in the snow. I sped up. The lights stayed close. I slowed down. They slowed down. My throat felt dry. I whispered, "Please stop." The headlights suddenly turned off. Complete darkness behind me. That was worse. Then I felt it. A heavy hit. The truck shook. Something slammed into the back. I yelled and fought to keep control. The road was slippery. The forest felt like it was closing in. I saw a small rest area sign ahead. I turned hard and drove into it. I stopped under a broken streetlight and locked the doors. Snow fell thick around me. I checked my mirrors. No truck, no lights, no man. I stayed there, breathing fast. Minutes passed. Then I noticed something on my windshield. A handprint. On the outside. Pressed into the snow. Long fingers. Too long. I stayed in that truck until morning. When daylight came, the handprint was gone. The abandoned truck was gone. The forest looked normal. Too normal. I finished my delivery and never took that route again. I quit night driving that winter. But sometimes, when snow starts falling at night, and rain turns to silence, I remember that smile, and I wonder if I escaped, or if it just decided to let me go. I used to love the sound of snow falling. It felt soft, calm, like the world was being covered in a blanket and told to be quiet for a while. Whenever it snowed, I felt pulled outside, even if I didn't know why. This happened during winter break, back when I was 19. I was home alone for almost 2 weeks. My parents were visiting relatives out of state, and I had the house to myself. At first, it felt great. No rules, no noise, just me, the cold air, and long, quiet nights. On the 4th night, a storm rolled in. The weather app said there would be light snow later in the morning. Nothing serious. I checked it twice, like I always do in winter. It didn't mention anything about snow that night. But around 11:30 p.m., it started anyway. I was sitting in my room, scrolling on my phone, when I noticed the world outside my window turning white. Snow was falling fast, thick flakes moving sideways in the wind. Something inside me clicked. I wanted to go out. I don't hike. I don't camp. I don't like the woods much at all. But that night, I felt like I needed to walk in the snow. So I grabbed my jacket, boots, gloves, and drove to a nearby trail. It was only 5 minutes away, a local forest path people used during the day. The parking lot was empty. No cars, no lights, just snow covering everything. I stood there for a moment, listening. Snow has a sound when it falls. Not loud, just present, like a whisper all around you. I started walking. I didn't have a plan. I just wanted to go deeper, where the trees were closer together and the world felt smaller. After about 20 minutes, I stopped. That's when I heard it. A voice. At first, I thought it was my imagination. Then I heard it again. A child's voice. "Hi." My stomach tightened. There should not have been a child out there. Not at that hour. Not in that weather. I turned slowly, scanning the trees. Nothing. No footprints. No movement. I told myself it was an echo, or the wind. Then the voice spoke again. "Up here." I looked up without thinking. There was a boy sitting on a tree branch. He looked about 9 years old. He was bundled in winter clothes, his legs dangling casually. He smiled at me. Something about the smile felt unfinished, like he hadn't practiced it enough. I felt calmer once I could see him. At least now I knew where the voice came from. I walked closer, watching my steps. That's when I noticed the ground. There were no footprints around the tree. None. Fresh snow everywhere, untouched. Meaning he had been sitting there before it started snowing. For a long time. I asked him how he got up there. He said, "That's a secret." Then he laughed softly. The branch he sat on was at least 20 feet high. The tree was smooth. No lower branches. No marks. I felt cold in places that weren't exposed. Then he stood up. "Watch this," he said. Before I could react, he leaned back and fell. I screamed. He hit the ground hard. Too hard. The sound echoed through the forest. I ran toward him, but before I reached him, he jumped up, like nothing happened. Then he ran, deeper into the woods, laughing. I don't know why I followed him. I should have run back to my car. I knew that. But something pulled me forward, like I had already made the choice before I realized it. I followed his footprints easily. He wasn't hiding. Then the laughter stopped. As I passed a large tree, something grabbed me from behind. I fell hard into the snow. He was on top of me. His hands clawed at my neck and face. His strength didn't match his size. I screamed and tried to push him away. His fingers burned like ice. I managed to throw him off. He hit the ground, stood up, and ran away again, still laughing. I didn't chase him this time. I wrapped my hat around my neck to stop the bleeding and stumbled back toward the trail. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely walk. The next thing I remember was waking up in an ambulance. The police asked me questions. Doctors cleaned my wounds. Everyone looked at me like they weren't sure they believed me. Later, I learned something that still makes my chest feel tight. The police followed my footprints. They only found one set. Mine. No child's tracks. No signs anyone else had been there. Days later, I went back. The forest was silent. Perfect. Like nothing had ever happened. But sometimes, when it snows suddenly, when the weather changes without warning, I don't go outside anymore. Because I know now, some things don't walk into the forest. They wait there, and snow just makes them easier to hide. I still remember that evening clearly. I was home alone. Just me, the house, and the sky slowly changing color outside my window. The day had been quiet. Too quiet. Thick gray clouds covered the sky, stretching from one end to the other. No sunlight, no birds, just heavy clouds hanging low, like they were watching the house. I made some coffee and sat near the living room window. I like cloudy weather. It feels calm, like the world is taking a break. The air felt cool, and everything outside looked soft and still. Then the rain started, At first it was gentle. Small drops tapped the window like fingers asking to come in. The sound was peaceful, slow, soft. I smiled and turned off the TV so I could listen better. The rain felt beautiful. Minutes passed, and the sound changed. The drops came faster, closer together. The sky grew darker, even though it was only late afternoon. The clouds moved low and fast now. The rain slowly became heavier. It didn't fall straight down anymore. It drifted sideways, almost like snow falling in winter. Thick drops filled the air, blurring everything outside. The trees across the street faded into gray shapes. I stood up and closed the curtains halfway. The rain kept falling. I checked the time. 4:42 p.m. It felt much later. The house felt different now. The quiet had weight. The walls felt closer. The air inside felt colder, even though the heater was on. Thunder rolled far away. Not loud, just deep. I told myself it was just weather. Still, I locked the front door. I don't know why I did that. I was already inside. The neighborhood was safe. But something in me wanted the door locked. The rain grew louder. It hit the roof hard. It hit the windows harder. It sounded endless, like it had no plan to stop. I went to the kitchen to make dinner, but I wasn't hungry anymore. I felt watched, even though I knew I was alone. Then I heard a sound that didn't belong. A knock. Soft. I froze. The knock came again. Slow. Careful. I stood still, listening. My heart started to beat faster. I looked at the clock again. 5:01 p.m. Who would knock in weather like this? I walked quietly to the front door and looked through the peephole. No one was there. Just rain pouring down the steps. The porch light reflected off the wet ground, making it shine. I waited. Nothing. I stepped back, feeling silly. Then the knock came again. This time from the back of the house. From the kitchen door. My stomach tightened. No one ever uses that door. I walked slowly toward the kitchen, my footsteps quiet on the floor. The rain outside the back window was even louder. The yard looked like it was drowning. The knock came again. 3 taps. I didn't answer. I didn't move. Then I heard a voice. Soft. Calm. Hello? It sounded like a woman. Her voice was gentle, kind, like someone asking for help. I walked closer to the door but stayed silent. Please, the voice said. It's raining so hard. I reached for the light switch and turned on the outside light. Through the glass door, I saw a woman standing in the rain. She wore a long coat. Her hair was wet and stuck to her face. She stood very still, looking straight at the door. Something about her felt wrong. Not scary, just wrong. I couldn't see her eyes clearly. I asked who she was. She smiled. I live nearby, she said. May I come in? Her voice sounded close, too close. I looked behind her. The rain was so thick I couldn't see past a few feet. I said no. Her smile stayed. That's okay, she said. I can wait. She didn't move. Minutes passed. The rain kept falling. She stayed there, unmoving, like part of the rain itself. I stepped away from the door and went to the living room. I sat on the couch, pulling my knees close. My hands were shaking. I checked my phone. No signal. No internet. The rain hit harder now. It sounded like the house was being buried. Then I heard something new. Footsteps. inside the house. Slow steps above me, on the second floor. I held my breath. I live alone, no pets, no roommates. The steps stopped. Then the sound of water dripping from upstairs. I slowly stood and looked toward the stairs. Water ran down the steps. Clear water, dripping like rain. But the windows upstairs were closed. The footsteps started again, closer this time. I backed away, my heart pounding in my ears. Then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. It said, "She doesn't like being ignored." The rain outside suddenly stopped. Just like that. Silence filled the house. The woman at the back door was gone. The dripping upstairs stopped too. I stood there, frozen, afraid to move. Then I heard breathing, right behind me. Warm breath, slow, patient. I turned around. Nothing was there, but the window behind me was open. Rainwater dripped from the frame onto the floor. And on the glass, written with a wet finger, were 3 words. "Let me in." I ran. I grabbed my keys and rushed to the front door. I unlocked it, pulled it open, and stepped into rain. Heavy rain. Snow-like rain falling thick and sideways. The sky was dark again. The house behind me was quiet. Too quiet. I didn't look back. I drove away and didn't stop until I saw lights and people. That night, the weather report said something strange. There was no rain in your area today. I moved out a month later. But sometimes, when clouds gather suddenly, when rain starts falling slow, then heavy, like snow, I stay away from windows. Because I know now, some storms don't come from the sky. They come to knock. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, The Haunted Echo, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new true horror story. Your support helps keep these stories alive and listening.